What unfolded during this Judiciary Committee hearing between Senator Mazie Hirono and Attorney General Pam Bondi is far more than a heated political exchange. It's a defining snapshot of how truth and accountability are being tested in real time. What we're witnessing here is the slow, deliberate erosion of one of America's most sacred principles, the independence of the Department of Justice.
Ms. Bondi, did you approve closing the Holman investigation, bribery investigation?
Senator Hirono, as I stated earlier, the Department of Justice and the FBI conducted a thorough review, and they found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing.
Ms. Bondi, at your confirmation hearing, you assured me that it is the Department of Justice's decision to determine what cases will be prosecuted. Last month, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia was forced out. President Trump then posted the message behind me asking about prosecuting James Comey. You then appointed a new U.S. attorney who, within days, secured an indictment against James Comey. That social media post behind me saying, "What about Comey?" was directed to Pam. Are you the Pam that the president was referring to?
I'm sure I was.
So it's very clear to me that when the president posts something like that, that he considers the DOJ to be his law firm and you his lawyer. And in fact, very shortly after the post to you, Comey gets indicted. Last year, President Trump's new border czar, Tom Holman, was videotaped taking a bag with $50,000 in cash from undercover FBI agents after suggesting he could help with government contracts. Sounds like a bribe. 2 weeks ago, DOJ officials reportedly shut down the bribery investigation into Mr. Holman. Ms. Bondi, did you approve closing the Holman investigation, bribery investigation?
Senator Hirono, as I stated earlier, the Department of Justice and the FBI conducted a thorough review, and they found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing. You were also on video outside the White House protesting with a group called CASA, where Antifa members were. Does that mean you're a member of Antifa?
You know, I simply asked the question as to whether or not you approve the shutting down of the investigation of Mr. Holman. I have to assume that you did because the FBI reports to you. But the American people would look at the situation where this person is taking a $50,000 in cash, no less, and you testified today that a thorough investigation was done. Now, I have to assume, I conclude, that since no wrongdoing was determined, that in answer to Senator Whitehouse's question, he kept the money. He kept the money, and I hope that he put that on his tax returns as income. Next question. Over 1,200 rioters were convicted of charges related to January 6th. President Trump has since pardoned nearly all of them. As if that weren't enough, last month there were reports that a lawyer for the January 6th rioters met with senior DOJ officials about setting up a compensation fund like the one that Congress set up after 9/11 to compensate these rioters. Ms. Bondi, is anyone at DOJ considering setting up a compensation fund for January 6th rioters? Yes or no?
Senator, I have had no meetings or discussions about a fund.
So would you support such a fund? Would you okay such a fund?
Senator, you can send me the information on the fund, and I'd be happy to look at it.
No, but do you think that's a good idea to, this is what I'm getting at. Because to actually set up a fund and to have people talking with your senior people at DOJ, political people, about creating a fund, and you won't let us know what you think about that, that's pretty unbelievable. On January 30th of this year, the Trump DOJ's Antitrust Division sued to block the merger of two tech companies. Then, well-connected lobbyists met with your political deputies who overruled the career staff and approved the merger. So there's a settlement on that. And separately, DOJ sued Ticketmaster last year for monopolizing concert tickets and forcing consumers to pay outrageous fees. Ticketmaster has hired the exact same lobbyists who met with senior DOJ political people regarding the merger of the two tech companies. So my question is, Ms. Bondi, have lobbyists met with your political deputies about the Ticketmaster case?
Senator Hirono, as I stated earlier, I am not going to discuss anything that is ongoing. Gail Slater runs the Antitrust
I would
office,
say
and
that
Gail Slater, if I can finish, Gail Slater is doing an incredible job running my antitrust unit.
It's highly likely, Ms. Bondi, that the same lobbyists who met with your people and basically got rid of the antitrust case.
Senator, I don't think a lot of people
I
like
would
that
say
you were
that
out
they're probably
protesting with
meeting you
Antifa.
right now. Next question. You have fired dozens of career prosecutors because they worked on cases involving President Trump or January 6 rioters. For example, one career federal prosecutor who secured over 100 convictions in Florida. He also spent time in D.C. prosecuting January 6 cases. He received an outstanding review only 2 days before you signed a memo firing him. The memo cited no reason for his firing. Are you firing career prosecutors solely because they worked on cases like January 6th that the president doesn't like?
Senator Hirono, I am not going
Yes
to talk
or no?
about personnel matters with you.
Well, we all know that hundreds of career prosecutors have left the DOJ, and literally hundreds, we're told. And
Yeah, Senator,
you've
are you
lost. The
familiar with the one
DOJ
that threw a
has
sandwich
lost-
at an ICE officer? Are you a Homeland Security officer?
is the
Are you familiar
reason.
with the one who went out on her lunch break and was
Ms. Bondi,
making obscene gestures?
Would you say that DOJ losing these career prosecutors and the thousands of hours of experience they have prosecuting criminals, that is not a reassuring situation?
Senator, many employees took the fork in the road and resigned. DOJ is hiring committed prosecutors who will actually come into the office and work, and not work remotely, and
think we all
prosecute
know
violent
that-
criminals around the country and terrorists. And I am very proud
you
of the
fire
work all of our prosecutors
I'm running out
are
of
doing.
time, so I think you should stop with your continuous interruptions, in my opinion. Mr. Chairman, I just want to close by saying that what was once the Department of Justice has become the Department of Revenge and Corruption. Rather than pursuing cases without fear or favor, this DOJ seeks to favor the president's friends and instill fear in his alleged enemies. If you're a friend of the president, this corrupt DOJ will bend over backwards to help you, just like it dropped the bribery investigation of Tom Holman, like it's considering paying money to January 6 rioters, and like it has put antitrust enforcement decisions in the hands of well-connected lobbyists. But if you're on the wrong side of this president, you will face the wrath of DOJ, no matter what the facts, law, or justice support. James Comey is indicted days after the president's social media directive. Experienced career prosecutors are fired just because they were assigned to work on January 6 cases. Blue states are sued to get highly sensitive private voter data, whereas red states are left alone. The double standard is clear, and the American people are waking up to the corruption and favoritism and the lawlessness at the DOJ. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
May I respond, Chairman?
Yes.
May I respond?
Yes, you may respond. Then Senator Kennedy.
Thank you. The double standard is crystal clear, Senator Hirono, crystal clear, because you didn't complain for 4 years when President Trump was being targeted by Jack Smith, by the last Justice Department. But the American people spoke loud and clear when they overwhelmingly elected him. The two-tier system of justice is over.
What we just witnessed in this explosive Judiciary Committee hearing is a striking example of how far political loyalty has penetrated our justice system under this administration. When Senator Hirono questioned Pam Bondi, her tone wasn't merely confrontational, it was a call to conscience. She wasn't just sparring over legal jargon or policy nuances. She was exposing a deeper rot, one that's been festering under the surface of our justice system for years, the weaponization of the DOJ for political ends. Bondi's evasive answers, her deflection, and her unwillingness to commit to transparency reflect a Justice Department that has grown increasingly loyal to power rather than to principle. When the nation's top law enforcement agency begins to function as an extension of political will, democracy itself is endangered. This isn't about left or right, it's about whether we're still living under a system of laws or under the rule of men. Now, when Hirono pressed about the timing of the Comey indictment, coming just days after the president himself publicly called for it, she wasn't speculating. She was identifying a pattern. A president who uses social media not to inform, but to instruct, not to express opinion, but to dictate who the DOJ targets next. That's not leadership, that's coercion. Think about the precedent this sets. If a president can suggest who should be prosecuted, and within days the Department of Justice acts on that suggestion, then the foundation of impartial justice collapses. No one is safe in a system where the law bends to the will of whoever occupies the Oval Office. That's not how democracy works. That's how authoritarianism begins. And when Bondi tried to spin the conversation toward unrelated issues, protests, Antifa, public unrest, it was a calculated distraction. This is a common political maneuver. When you can't defend your record, you create chaos. But Hirono stayed on message. She refused to be sidetracked because she understood that the real danger lies in normalizing corruption. Let's not forget what's at stake here. The Justice Department's integrity doesn't just determine who gets indicted or who walks free. It determines whether the American people can trust their government at all. Every time the DOJ acts on political motives, that trust erodes further. And when citizens stop believing that justice is blind, democracy weakens. Senator Hirono's sharp criticism of what she called the Department of Revenge and Corruption wasn't exaggeration, it was an alarm bell. She's seen this pattern before. Career prosecutors removed, investigations redirected, loyalists rewarded for silence and complicity. This is how a system built on justice transforms into a system built on fear. Her frustration mirrors what many Americans feel: exhaustion from watching institutions that once stood above politics become tools for partisan gain. The American people deserve a Department of Justice that upholds law without bias, not one that punishes political opponents and protects allies. Bondi's defensive posture only reinforced that something is deeply wrong. Every time she refused to answer directly, every time she pivoted away from the substance of Hirono's questions, she revealed the fear of accountability that now defines this Justice Department. Because when those in power know their actions can't stand up to scrutiny, silence and evasion become their only defense. This exchange should remind us that democracy doesn't die overnight. It erodes slowly, through justifications, excuses, and complacency. Every hearing like this one is a test. Will we confront corruption, or will we adapt to it? Senator Hirono chose to confront it, and that courage, to speak truth to power in a room designed to suppress it, is exactly what keeps democracy alive. But it's not enough to applaud her. It's on all of us to recognize what's happening and to stay vigilant. The truth is, justice doesn't defend itself. It requires people, citizens, to demand it, to vote for it, and to protect it when it's under siege. So here's the takeaway. This wasn't just a fiery clash between two officials. It was a reflection of a much larger battle, one between accountability and corruption, between democracy and decay. If you believe that the Department of Justice should serve the people, not the powerful, then this is your moment to pay attention, to speak up, and to act. Because democracy doesn't fail when the powerful lie. It fails when the rest of us stop caring enough to hold them accountable. Make sure you subscribe, stay engaged, and keep questioning power. Because as Senator Hirono made clear today, justice only survives when we're willing to fight for it.